Well, Michelle brought up politicians, and you may not realize, but back in 1876, some politicians came up with a piece of legislature called the Indian Act. And could you turn that Indian Act into a comedy act? Well, my next guest has done just that. 146 years in the making. Dakota Ray Hebert, comedian, joins us here on the show. Welcome to the show. Great to have you here, Dakota.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And Dakota, that Indian Act remains today. I mean, it's gone through many, many changes, but a lot of people probably don't realize that it's still in the books today.
Yeah, it's still in play. It still dictates in people's lives. I'm a 6'2" Indian under the Indian Act, which means that I have to be really aware of who I'm making babies with if I want to keep the nation alive. I have to look up for a 6'1" Indian or a 6'2" Indian. So what up? That's still that sweet genocide that Canada still has going on. So, yeah, you really have to. There's a lot of things that it still dictates.
Who were like, for those people that don't know the history? Who were the politicians involved at the time creating the Indian Act?
My man, Johnny McDonald, was involved. There's William Sprague. He was the superintendent of Indian Affairs, which is really funny because he's not native. That's something I touch on as well in the album. But there's quite a few people involved in that, the creation of the Indian Act, and even the people that have upheld it. Jean Chrétien is a part of the 60s scoop. People don't really know that, but he adopted his Indigenous son and was part of that. That's part of Canada's history. And there's been quite a few. Stephen Harper has made several amendments to the Indian Act just to make it easier for certain other people. So it's been in play throughout history.
Is it fair to say that some politicians have benefited from the Indian Act?
Definitely.
I kind of knew the answer, but I had to throw it out there,
Of course. Yeah, definitely politicians have benefited. A lot of non-Indigenous Canadians have benefited. And it's about time that the politicians today work with Indigenous leaders to, in my opinion, sorry, that's my dog, Mr.
That's
Bean,
okay.
to abolish the Indian Act, because it's a racist book of laws that's still in play that shouldn't be in play. But that's for something Indigenous leaders and our today's Canadian leaders to have discussions about.
Dakota, I think it's a great way to raise awareness, too, so that people that, don't necessarily understand what is in the Act and how it came to be and the changes. You've just mentioned some of the politicians, of course, involved. Is that one of the reasons why you decided to put together this particular Act?
You know what? It was like, it feels so frustrating to hear that with the residential school findings that are coming out and these babies that are finally being found and sent home. There was so much anger in me because, like, I'm a freaking stand-up comedian. How could I help and do anything and like bring awareness to like atrocities and whatnot that has been going on for centuries and still is. And then I remembered this elder I'd worked with, Elder John Sugar. He had shared a beautiful quote, and it was, "If you're going to fight the war, fight it with a pen." And he meant to encourage us to be Indigenous lawyers, but I don't have the capacity for that. So I was like, you know what? I could probably make like something funny. I could make an album like making fun of the Indian Act and the politicians involved. And oh my gosh, maybe that's what I do. So it was this past summer when I decided, okay, April 12th, I'm gonna record my first comedy album too, and so that's kind of why I wanted to do something about it.
What's your experience been as a status Indian?
It's been interesting because I walk in both worlds too, right? Like
Right.
I have this joke that my dad's cowboy, my mom's a native, and that's why I'm so full of inner conflict. And so I really do walk in both worlds. I have white privilege in the wintertime, which is awesome because I get treated like a human. But then once I get my summer tan on, I get excellent customer service in stores, and I have to pay my tabs up front. So it has been really interesting walking in both of those worlds. And just in terms of like, I just personally think that, there's lots of white people that think I don't pay taxes, that I get free things all the time. And instead of being like, you shouldn't get that, they should be like, why don't I? We live in one of the richest countries in the world. We just legalized marijuana. We should have so much money where everyone can get their medications paid for and their free dental and eye care. And dental's coming up now too,
Yeah,
but that's a
yeah.
different thing. But anyways, yeah, so I think that that's what we should be pushing our politicians for.
You mentioned that date, April 12th. You're going to be performing at the Laugh Lounge. Tickets still available? How do people get tickets and get involved?
Yeah, you can check out Eventbrite, Howl and Roar Records. They're the ones recording the album. Thank you so much, Howl and Roar. Tickets are still available. There's an early show and a late show, 7 o'clock and 9 o'clock, Tuesday, April 12th. And the reason why is because on April 12th, 1876, in Ottawa, the Indian Act was enacted. So I'm coming from Saskatoon to perform this in Ottawa because I want some layers in there.
Nice, nice.
So,
well, we're looking forward to it. Dakota, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Again, that's at the Laugh Lounge happening on April the 12th. We'll be back talking, guess what? Taxes right after this.